Cats. So today we're here for another episode of the Wonder Woman Wake Up Call series. If you're new to my channel, first of all, welcome. I'm happy to have you here. Second of all, if you need some clarification, the Wonder Woman Wake Up Call series is a series of videos dedicated to what I have coined as my Wonder Woman mentality, Wonder Woman manifesto, etc. And basically what this series is, what this manifesto is, what this mentality is, it's a series and manifesto and mindset dedicated to becoming your most Wonder Woman self, or your most Superman self, your most superhero abundant self. And where this came from was a little over 2 years ago, like 2 years and a few months ago, I think. When I first started out in fitness, I was doing a radio interview for a local radio station, and the interviewer asked me, if you could share one piece of advice with young women right now, what would it be? And I remember verbatim to this day what I said, and I say it in every video. It's become your own Wonder Woman. Don't rely on the energy of the outside world to fuel you. Find out what makes you strong and what makes you awesome and run with it. So that is where the series came from. If you have a Wonder Woman workbook, I have mine right here. Grab yours. We're about to get into it. Jot down some notes, and then there will be a journal prompt at the end. So let's get into it. Today, kind of what we're going to talk about is, well, hugging your cactus. That's the title of today's episode, and I will explain what that means in a minute, because you're probably head scratching like, well, why are we talking about cacti? What does this have to do with anything? So I will explain. So part of being a Wonder Woman is being imperfect and flawed. Just because you are the hero of your own life does not mean you're without fault. Being the hero of your own life is not about running from imperfection and towards some constructed ideal. That's not what it's about at all. Doing that actually prevents you from becoming a Wonder Woman. It prevents you from becoming your highest, most abundant, most superhero self. And this episode was actually inspired by a phrase that I heard in a sermon, actually, about hugging your cactus. So you're probably like, what is this metaphoric cactus? And I fell in love with this analogy when I heard it, and I've been using it so frequently, and I just wanted to share it with you guys. So your cactus or your cacti are the not so nice, prickly, hurtful, mean, or otherwise undesirable parts of your heart, of your mind, of your habit, of your actions, etc. Anything that you see as, not so nice, as kind of prickly. This can be anything as small as being a little bit messy, being a little bit cluttered. I have a habit of being kind of messy in my room, at least. Like my life is very organized, but my room in particular, I've always struggled with being messy and keeping it clean. So it can be something as small as, tidiness, or it can be something as large as addiction, alcohol, depression, anxiety, eating disorders. It can be something as big as, having a really self-centered mentality, having a really selfish, narcissistic view of life. It can be small scale, it can be large scale. But it's anything that is just a not positive part of you that's holding you back from growth. And in the literal sense, so with a cactus, when you see a cactus, the literal sense, you see a cactus, your first instinct is to get away from it. Your first instinct is not to go up and hug a cactus because it's prickly, because it doesn't feel good, because it's uncomfortable. Okay? It's uncomfortable. And so in the metaphoric sense, when you're presented with a cactus in your personality or in your life, your first instinct is not to embrace it. Your first instinct is to kind of shy away from it. It's like, oh, I don't want to. No, that's uncomfortable. That's a little prickly. I don't want that. No. So again, your first instinct is not to hug it. It's to stay away from it. But, or even worse, to play ignorant to it. Or to say something to the effect of, that's just who I am. And this is a bad thing. Sorry, I keep looking down because I have notes on these because I tend to ramble. So this is a bad thing. Running from, playing ignorant to, hiding from, refusing to admit to the cacti in your life is a huge problem. And that's because the cactus is still there whether you want to admit it or not. And I personally believe that life and God and the universe work in such a way that if you continue to run from your cactus, if you continue to hide your imperfections, if you continue to hide your faults, no matter how big or how small they are, if you continue to hide from them, then life will give you what is called kind of like, or what I'm calling a karma tornado, where something happens and that cactus is uprooted in this big tornado, in this whirlwind, and life launches that cactus at you at like 100 miles an hour. And if you can picture this, being hit with a cactus, like an actual cactus, at 100 miles per hour with all those prickly little parts, doesn't feel so great. Doesn't. It doesn't, I promise. Well, I can't really promise that. I've never been hit by an actual cactus, but metaphorically, I have been hit by a cactus or two in my day. So, examples of being hit by your cactus. If you struggle with alcoholism, for example, drug or alcohol addiction, then your karma tornado from ignoring your cactus, from denying your cactus exists, could be you ending up in a hospital. It could be as bad, this is gonna get real grim real quick, it could be you entering a coma or dying. With something as small as, smaller scale with messiness, it could cause you to lose something really important, like your birth certificate. No, I have never lost my birth certificate. Or the second thing, I've never lost the second thing. Like, being messy could cause you to be so cluttered that you lose your birth certificate. Or, say, a really small but highly valued family heirloom from, like, a relative that's passed away that you held really near and dear to your heart. You could lose that because you're messy, because you refuse to acknowledge that and do something to change it. For myself personally, my actual karmic tornado, I'm an anxiety prone person. I do struggle with anxiety, and it's definitely, I haven't struggled with actual anxiety attacks in well over a year because I was forced to face my cactus like a year and a half, 2 years ago, not full 2 years, more like a year and a half. But I continue to run from my anxiety, and I continue to deny its existence. And I was hit with a series of anxiety attacks, one right after the other, for a few months. And I was miserable. It held me back from everything that I wanted to do in my life. It was debilitating, physically debilitating. I remember, for those of you that follow along, you know that I'm into fitness and bodybuilding and everything. I was actually hit with these anxiety bouts during a contest prep. I would be out on the track trying to do track sprints, and there were multiple instances where I was hit with huge anxiety attacks, and I was bent over on the track, physically debilitated on the ground, heaving, tunnel vision, panic, not able to do what I needed to do in terms of training. And that held me back. And you know what? It didn't go away until I acknowledged the fact that my anxiety was a part of me. So this is where the hug comes in. So why a hug? Why hug the cactus? Why not just wave at the cactus, say, "Hi, I know you're there," but not really approach it, but not get face to face with it in a close sense? Why do we hug it? And this is for a couple of reasons. When you give a hug, typically it's a voluntary act. It's a conscious choice that you're making. When I approach someone and I want to give them a hug, it's not just a reflex. It's not like the knee-jerk, "Oh, let me hug you." No, it's a choice. It's a conscious choice. And so by choosing to acknowledge your not so nice qualities, my camera's overheating. Why so soon this time? Hold on. All right, let's try this again. So, why a hug? When you're giving someone a hug, when you are giving the hug, you are choosing to. It's a conscious choice that you're making. So by choosing to acknowledge your prickly parts, your not so nice qualities, the things that you don't necessarily love about yourself, then you accept them. You acknowledge that they exist, and you accept that they're a part of you. This cactus is a part of you, and by embracing it, you accept it. You know that it's there, you know that it's a part of you, and that gives you the power to do something about it. And so number two, when you give a hug, it's generally speaking, it's coming from a place of love and or peacemaking. So I've never given a hug out of a negative place. I've never given a hug out of a place of, I give a hug out of love and making peace. So I don't believe that you can grow in a positive way. Positive growth and positive change in your life do not come from places of hate. They don't come from places of disdain or from ignorance or from just negative. Positive change is not bred from negative things, in my opinion. So you don't hate yourself into lasting happiness. You don't hate your life into a good life. You can't hate, no. It doesn't work like that. You don't become the hero of your own you don't become the hero of your own life by hating your way there. So not only in so you gotta hug it, because acceptance and love, that's where we make positive change. That's where that change needs to come from, is places of acceptance and love. So not only does this apply to ourselves and our own cacti, but it helps you make space in your life to grow, but it mentally equips you to make space for other people to do the same. So in my personal case, when I finally learned to accept the not so nice things about myself, and you know what, it still happens to this day. I still have not so nice qualities about myself. No one is perfect. No Wonder Woman is perfect, even if she's a Wonder Woman. But, you know, when you accept that you have a few cacti in your life that you're trying to grow from, that you're trying to learn to hug, that you're trying to, you know, make better, then you have, or at least I've experienced this myself, it's much easier to accept and make space for other people to do the same. So, you know, even the people you don't care for so much, when you learn and when you truly internalize that, okay, I have these cacti in my life, you know, I'm trying to grow, I'm trying to learn, I'm trying to become better, you make it a lot easier on yourself to let other people do the same. You have an easier time making space for other people, even the people you don't like, because we all have people we don't like, and that's okay, but it's a lot easier to make space for them to do the same. You know, you're less unnecessarily critical. Criticism isn't bad, but there's a difference between constructive criticism and actual critical thought, and criticizing from a place of love and acceptance and care, and just criticizing from a place of hate. So when you accept your cacti in your life, you not only make space for yourself to grow from a positive place, you provide other people with the space to do the same for themselves. And that's what the whole Wonder Woman thing is about too, is it's not only becoming your own Wonder Woman, but encouraging the people around you to do the same. So we have to accept our struggles, we have to accept our cacti, and not just accept them, but like, hey, love you, hug you. Like, positive change comes from a positive place. And I think that's the main thing with this. It's a hug, because a hug is a positive thing, and we make positive change from a positive place in our hearts. So that is basically the wrap up of this episode. I will go ahead and provide you guys with a journal prompt. So obviously, question number 1, what are your cacti? So I want you to write down anywhere from 1 to 5 small scale cacti in your life. So something like being messy, or, you know, not being good at time management, which time management can turn into a really big thing. Well, I guess any small scale things can turn into a big thing. But, you know, what are 1 to 5 small scale cacti that you have in your life, and what are 1 to 5 big scale cacti that you have in your life? You know, are you somebody that struggles with anxiety, with depression, with disordered eating, anything of that nature? What are those big cacti? Like, I'm asking you the hard questions. Ask yourself the hard questions. Wonder Women ask themselves the hard questions. Be introspective. Recognize that you're not a perfect person. Recognize your imperfections for what they are. Identify them. And then after you identify them, first of all, I want you to physically give yourself a hug, please. But second of all, write your hug, write out your hug, write your declaration of acceptance, like, yo, I recognize that these are cacti in my life. I recognize that these are not so nice qualities about myself. How do I change them? My camera's overheating again. Oh. We're just gonna try and wrap it up real quick. Second thing, how can you improve? So jot down ideas of how you can improve. So what are your cacti, declaration of acceptance, or your hug? How can you improve? So my camera's about to overheat. I'm gonna wrap this up really quick. If you like this episode of the Wonder Woman Wake Up Call, please give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment below, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in the next episode. I love you, my Wonder Women and my Superman. Superman? Superman. I don't know. All right, love you. See you in the next one. Bye.